The story starts where a man climbing at dawn toward a deserted mountain, grasping and sweating to reach his destination. Our MC name is Lee Si-hyun, a 24-year-old man, and we can call him Lee for short. Lee tries his best to climb the deserted mountain, and we wonder why is he desperate to climb at dawn, as he gets excited and giggles when he remembers an article that he saw on 4chan. And it turns out that he just wanted to clap some tree boosie that everyone talks about. Our horny-ass boy even bought the best tofu in the town that costs 5,001 per piece that he prepared. Lee remembers that one 4chan user said that it exceeded their expectation because they did it with the hot tofu as they smashed so woodusi. After all the climbing, our boy reached the top of the mountain where he saw a beautiful sight of the town's streetlight, as it is a perfect place to beat his meat by smashing some tree boosie. And there we see him climbing towards the tree and seeing a mysterious yum-yum hole, inspecting it on how beautiful Mother Nature is. The trunk of the tree that looked like many men will simp over it, with the curviness like Ice Spice mixed with Nicki Minaj. I would clap those wooden cheeks. Lee declared it as the world's thickest tree. After inspecting the tree, he then put the 5,001 hot tofu inside the mysterious wooden yum-yum hole to prepare to beat his meat. And of course, our boy won't get excited just a curvy tree, so he prepares his phone and earphones to watch some fun videos to commence the clapping. He places his phone at the top of the tree cheeks and watches amazing videos about some kinds of stuff. Later on, Lee feels the cool air of the morning breeze at the top of the deserted mountain, where there is beautiful faraway scenery of the city. The clapping sound echoes throughout the forest and mountains, reminiscent of the National Geographic Channel, as the coquettish sounds echo through the air. And inside that scenery, our boy smashes the tree, as if becoming the main character of that scene. It is as if he is united with the outside world. Lee screams as he lets his seedlings fertilize the tree inside the yum-yum hole, releasing the highest quality of his very own tofu. And of course, after giving fertilizer to the tree, our boy went awkward because of the post-nut clarity, cringes on what he said to the tree that he is united with the outside world. And as he expected, the reality that it was a tree that hit him. What a weird guy he is. Later on, Lee remembers that it is his first day of the last class of his semester, so he goes down the mountain after the great experience that he had gone through. And that was what he remembered from that down. But now, he encountered a strange event. A little girl with green hair and tree horns knocks on our boy's house, telling Lee that he should take responsibility for their mom. This confuses Lee and was surprised that a mysterious girl is pointing a finger at him. For some reason his body wasn't listening to him. It felt as if a strange abyss was watching him. The little girl with the crazy expression blames him for why they messed with their mother. Lee shouted at the little girl, confused, asking her if the tree that he fertilized was her mom. The little girl smiled and made our boy scared at that moment, contemplating that the corner of the child's mouth rose, that his consciousness strayed further away, and he felt like he was falling. After he regained his consciousness, he saw a floating message in front of him congratulating him on becoming the first husband candidate. At that moment he realized instinctively. Lee shouted and panicked while lying down on his bed when he realized that he fertilized the world tree and came to his world. You see, there are a few world trees in his world, the world trees that stretch out of the empty world, to protect the worlds born from their roots, that he watches over them like mothers, so that the worlds become whole. RH2 is called the Earth, the place where he was, and one where a world tree didn't exist. A young world tree had taken an interest in that world and rooted herself on that mountain, where Lee smashed those wooden cheeks. He realized that all of that flowed into his head at that moment when he opened his eyes, like it was the basic necessary information of his new world. Even so, since he fertilized that tree at that mountain, and that tree actually happened to be a world tree, Lee laughs, thinking that his situation would be fun. Suddenly a floating hand appears nowhere, slapping our boy, and a voice was heard out of nowhere telling Lee that he shouldn't be laughing. Lee then said to the world tree waifu that it was laughable because, after studying hard and barely reaching the top rank of the department, he needed to marry a tree. We can see the tree waifu blushing and notify our boy that the world tree of purity is shy. Lee is irritated and tells his waifu to quiet down because he is feeling sensitive right now. Ever since he came to the new world, the punk called the world tree of purity has been bothering him. He felt that he had been talking to him as if he were in a hologram video chat, basically Discord. To him, there was nothing special about it, that it was just feeling or flattery lines. Our tree waifu heard what our boy said and felt sullen. Lee then asks his waifu if he can't return to the earth that he lived on before. Her response was to act dumb, and our boy realized that he really couldn't go back. Lee then went on an outburst, becoming extremely annoyed with the world tree, blaming her and demanding that she quickly bring him back to his original world. This made the tree world angry, and she told Lee that as her husband's candidate for the world tree, He must become a worthy person, but Lee refused. Tree Waifu continued to talk, telling Lee that the only notice he'll get is if he carries out the quest. Lee nervously asked what would happen if he didn't do as she said. She then answered that the death penalty would be imposed on him. Of course, our boy got freaked out by what she said, and his legs felt like jelly. He was scared after hearing that, and he could only smile bitterly because it was just too ridiculous. He wondered if he had ever felt that kind of helplessness throughout his life. Lee gave up and asked what was the quest that he needed to clear, wanting to hear her out just once. The tree waifu then revealed the main quest to him, which was to differentiate from the seed leaf. She explains the main quest by giving him an example, that he is just a stranger who had drifted into their world. She then tells her that running away is futile. However, the fact that he was considered husband material for the world tree in this world was very good news to him. The only way to prove his worth was to pass the L Academy. Lee then asked her what L Academy she was talking about and wondered why he needed to pass through that place. The tree waifu was delighted to hear that, giving him a thumbs up and telling him that the quest reward would be the world tree's love, blushing as she said it. She then warned our boy that if he failed the quest, he would be eaten alive by the cannibals. After explaining it all, she then started to give our boy his remaining time by 120 days and 24 hours to finish the quest. Our boy panicked and asked his tree waifu why he was considered husband material, and why he would die if he failed. He flew into a rage, but he knew there was no use, as the world tree seemed to be telling the truth. Realizing that on his case, his death could be true too. Our boy couldn't let that happen, so he looked around and saw a computer. He turned it on and began searching for information on what to do, preparing for what's to come because he didn't want to die. He felt the need to adapt to this new world by force, and that resulted in his investigation on the computer in his room. As he delved into his research, he learned about hunters and heroes in this world, dungeons, and villains, realizing that the world he now lived in was a unique blend of modern and fantasy elements. One peculiar thing he discovered was the existence of tree men who took on the appearance of humans. He found out that the tree men and the holy trees had races among themselves, and it seemed like there was coexistence similar to the coexistence of sword and magic in a traditional fantasy world. Our boy couldn't hide his excitement after discovering the fantasy world he now inhabited. He believed that it was going to be an incredibly fruitful year for him. His wife then suggested that he create his very own character, which left our boy feeling confused about what she meant. She went on to explain that his abilities would be reflected in his physical attributes in this new world. As he contemplated this, our boy, Lee Si-han, examined his status window. In this world, he had become 20 years old instead of 24. All of his stats were set at a base level of 5, and he possessed no unique traits, skills, or tendencies. Realizing that he had the opportunity to become a game character, and given his expertise from spending a lot of time playing games, our boy knew he had to make the most of his time in this world. He didn't know how much time he had, but he understood that to avoid his grim destiny, he had to go for the second half approach, being weak initially but growing stronger as time went on. While exploring the character creation options, he came across the unique trait checkboxes, including Sword God and Mana Ruler, both of which required 500 points to acquire. Lee was eager to obtain these skills, but he couldn't purchase them with his remaining points. He realized that the points he had were limited, and he would have to sacrifice his basic stats to acquire these unique abilities, just like in the games he was familiar with. However, he also felt that his basic stats were insufficient, so he considered sacrificing his face or charm to bolster his abilities. This decision surprised the tree waifu, who warned him not to do it. Our boy ignored his wife's plea and firmly stated that skills were more important than looks. He was determined to invest in high-potential attributes like luck, creating a character that was typical of late-game orientation. With his chosen stats, he acquired the tendency of a late bloomer, which meant his potential would greatly increase, allowing him to excel in various fields as his potential grew. He also received a significant boost in mental strength through the no giving up trait. However, there were penalties for his choices. He sacrificed charm, resulting in a hideous appearance, and also acquired the tendencies of a lustful demon, anger management disorder, and severe obesity. Despite these drawbacks, our boy remained resolute, believing that the risks were unavoidable. His wife continued to warn him, even begging him to reconsider, but our boy was unwavering. He pressed the yes button on the screen, confirming his choices. As lightning struck him, our boy felt his body growing heavy. However, when he looked in the mirror, he was astonished to find that he was not obese. In fact, he appeared to be in excellent shape. He couldn't help but wonder how severe obesity would have affected him. But when he checked himself in the mirror again, he still looked the same as before. It crossed his mind that he might appear obese to others, but he didn't care, his appearance didn't matter to him. His wife cried in response to his choices, but our boy reassured her that he could lose weight through exercise and that what's on the inside mattered more than looks. He then learned from the computer that there were 100 days until academy admissions, and he resolved to work hard during that time to increase his stats through exercise. Our boy looked at his wife with a glint in his eyes, asking if what he did was the manly thing to do. The tree waifu blushed, her heart pounding as she gazed at our boy, who now appeared handsome and cool in her eyes. She agreed with his decision, telling him to be confident and bringing good luck. Although our boy had been forced into the new world, he felt a sense of satisfaction as if he had scored a victory against the world tree he had fertilized. Confidently, our boy declared that he would start exercising the next day. On the 13th day in his new world, our boy struggled and sweated profusely while running. He was surprised at how challenging it was due to his severe obesity tendency. There were moments when he wanted to give up, but he knew that if he were to gain admission to the academy, he needed to increase his stats as soon as possible. Failure meant he had no choice but to die. While he was exercising outside, two women who were jogging noticed him. They were taken aback by his appearance, wondering aloud why he looked so strange, saying that not even goblins were as ugly as him. One of them remembered seeing him on the internet and called him an orangutan, making fun of our boy. Lee was well aware that the unconventional appearance he now had was the result of sacrificing his looks for unique abilities, but he still couldn't comprehend the extreme transformation his face had undergone. Suddenly, his anger flared, and he shouted at the two girls, demanding to know why they were making such a big fuss about his appearance. It was then that he remembered another penalty he had taken on, the tendency of anger management disorder, which explained his outburst. Meanwhile, a green-haired woman, drenched in sweat with those yummy mommy milkers, was seen drinking. She noticed our boy making a fuss and commenting on how ugly he appeared. Thanks for watching. Your support means everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.